I've seen sort of a common theme in a lot of questions about Math Academy the last week. Um, and one thing that I've seen come up over and over and over again is people wondering, when am I going to get to use these cool skills that I'm learning in some legitimately awesome real life context? And I wanted to talk a little bit about our ideas um, and what we've already started working on in that direction. Um, so we've got this particular task type called a multi-step task. Multi-step task. It's where we take some really cool, almost like a project sort of, but we break it up into very scaffolded pieces, like roughly 8 to 12 questions. Each question leverages some technical skills that the student has learned before attempting the multi-step. And the goal of multi-steps is to just pull all of this knowledge together into a cool context that gets you kind of excited about it. And originally, we kind of, the way we started out having multi-steps in the system is they were actually, we first created them just to sort of emulate these AP Calculus BC questions. On the AP Calculus exam, there's a free response section where they've got questions that go beyond the scope of just a standard multiple choice, just the standard compute this integral, compute the slope of the tangent line to this function, whatever. They've got, it presents a sort of a more complicated problem scenario, more challenging scenario where you have to pull together a lot of what you've learned from calculus in order to work your way through it. And so we created a bunch of multi-step questions in our AP Calculus BC course to sort of emulate these multi-part free response questions where you have to solve. They kind of walk you through the process of applying calculus to solve some real world problem. And so, as usual, we wanted to make it very scaffolded and not frustrate students. Like a problem, like a cool problem is cool when you can actually do it, when you know what to do at each step of the way and you're doing it and you're like, wow, this is awesome. But one thing that turns a cool problem into a frustrating problem is when even if you throw the learner a really cool problem scenario that is solvable with what they've learned, if they just can't figure out how to go about it, and they're just struggling, then it's no fun. So we scaffolded out a ton of these multi-step type problems. Here, I'll just show Calculus BC. We've got all these problems that are kind of similar to what you'd see in the AP Calc BC exam. And each of these, oh yeah, there's your standard optimization problems involving boxes. You've got stock and commodity prices. That sounds kind of cool. We're doing some investigation of stock prices. We got this modeling epidemics using exponential and logistic growth differential equations. So this was our initial conception of multi-steps. They're kind of meant to prep students for the AP Calc BC exam. But recently, our understanding of what these are, what these multi-steps can be, has started to expand. So we recently started working on coding projects for this upcoming machine learning course. And guess what? These coding projects they fit perfectly into the multi-step framework, where we've got a kind of a cool problem context that we're breaking down into steps. So for instance, let's see, this is just kind of a blueprint for a notebook that we're working on, but using linear regression to fit some data that represents housing in a city, figure out the house price, the rental yield based on features like how far it is away from the city center, when was it built, how many square feet is it. You get the idea. So you do a bunch of interesting, you got some graphs, fit a model, do some data transformation that you need to make your model fit well. And so the idea is that we're just like teaching you how to take what you've learned and apply it into some particular context. That's just really cool. And that's kind of opened the door to us in terms of like getting this coding problem in, these coding multi-steps in. Jason brought it up several days ago or a week ago maybe, that like, hey, these really cool problem scenarios, like they shouldn't just be for the BC Calc exam. They shouldn't just be for the machine learning course. Like we should have these everywhere. We need to like pepper them everywhere in our curriculum. This is not just an advanced level like calculus or machine learning. Like these things, we need them in pre-algebra. We need them in algebra 1. We need them in 5th grade math. We need them in 4th grade math. And we have some of those in the lower grades. But we haven't been leaning into the cool factor as much as we need to start doing. And we also need to create a lot more of these multi-steps as well. And so this is, it's kind of become apparent as me and Jason and Sandy and Alex have been talking about, like, well, what else do we need in the system? Well, there's like a whole laundry list of things, but what are people, what is one of the most common wishes that people have? Like, man, the system's cool, but I wish that it did this or that. And the thing that I've been saying over and over and over the past week is just, I wish it told me how I was going to be able to apply these superhero skills that I'm training. It's like you this is essentially superhero training, but we don't tell you how to actually be a superhero with the skills you acquire. We're like, oh, we're going to make you really, really strong. But then the natural question is like, okay, well, what can you do with that super strength? And of course, in the context of a superhero movie, it's kind of obvious. Like, well, you can go save the world from an asteroid, or like, we've got more examples, but it's less obvious in the context of math. If you are super duper technically capable with all your math skills, what do you get to do that is super awesome? And typically, I think the way that people learn about these things is it's kind of you just happen to be reading some, I don't know, maybe like some science book or some science article, watch some video that kind of captures your interest, and you're like, wow, that looks awesome. How did they do that? And then you look it up, and then like turns out they used a bunch of math. Or maybe you know somebody in your family, or you meet somebody who does something that just seems really cool to you, and maybe they're like solving some data science problem, or coding up some system, doing some bioinformatics, and it just kind of captures your attention, captures your interest, and then you kind of start to realize that, like, oh, there's a lot of math behind this. Like launching a rocket, that's probably the most obvious one. Like, yeah, so many, it's so cool to see a rocket go up into the atmosphere, into space, do cool stuff in space. It's like, it's just a captivating sort of thing. And once you start looking into, like, okay, well, how do I learn how to like launch a rocket? How do I build a rocket? What's involved? Well, there's a crap ton of math that you need to learn, and that can be very motivating for you to learn the math. And And it can also give you kind of like a direction in terms of just where you feel that you're going in this mathematical journey. You're trying to go from point A to point B. What's point B? For you, it might be launching rockets, or it might be modeling bioinformatic data, vaccine drug discovery. It might be building an AI, a chatbot, an AI system. Like, you can just mapping out how to colonize a planet. That's the one that Jason always likes to use, is like, okay, suppose that you're on Mars. What materials? How do you construct a civilization on that planet, given the different conditions from on Earth? There's so much interesting math that goes into that. And so we want to start leaning into these multi-steps as just a big, like, front and center thing in the system. Right now, what we have in the AP Calculus course and in some of the lower grade, maybe I think some of the lower grade multi-steps are maybe like using shape to tile an area, or like something about like a fencing for a yard or something. But in the past, we've been kind of underestimating how cool these multi-steps are going to be, how cool we can make these problem contexts, and how bright of a beacon they can be for learners who are trying to summon up motivation to learn math, or are questioning why are they learning this or that. And also not just in terms of motivation, but also in capability of doing cool things. How do you do cool things? Well, you practice doing cool things. And all this skill practice on Math Academy, building up these component skills, the big payoff is really just applying those skills to do cool things. So that's what we need to lean more into. And the thing that's kind of brought this most immediately to our attention is just when we started doing these machine learning notebooks, like I showed. I posted some of these. We've got a number of them done, but they're like implementing machine learning algorithms, doing cool stuff with algorithms, identifying failure modes of the algorithms, reasoning about them. We're going to have some neural net multi-steps where you build a neural net, use it for maybe a digit classification task, or like just image classification, or train it to play tic-tac-toe, just like cool stuff. And people get super excited about that, and especially the coding aspect to it. And so, yeah, so Jason, of course, noticed this pretty quickly, and naturally he was like, well, we need to have this everywhere in the curriculum. Cool projects, lean on a bunch of coding too. Like, isn't that what everybody is learning math and computer science for? Because they want to do cool stuff with it. Well, okay, there's a smaller subset of people who just find it beautiful, the subject to be beautiful, and that's their primary motivation. But most people who go into this, go into their math and computer science learning journey, it's because they want to come out of the other end with improved capability to be an agent in the world and just do cool things. I know I am using this phrase, do cool stuff, do cool things, do awesome shit. But really, that's what it's all about, right? That's why anyone learns. That's why most people learn math and computer science is to do cool stuff. And so we can lean into this so much, even in lower grades. Imagine like a Mars colonization multi-step problem where you're figuring out some aspect of how this inhabiting Mars is going to work. Maybe you're specking out like the physics of some building or some, or how you're even going to do like agriculture on Mars, and there's some math to and compute and coding to figure out, like maybe maybe you have to simulate some setup that you come up with under the conditions of Mars. Maybe you take like some, I don't know, like some setup that we have here on Earth. You kind of model it mathematically. Maybe just the physics of like of a building and the kind of like winds they have to withstand or whatever. I obviously have not looked into the actual like realistic research behind this. I'm just coming up with this off the top of my head. But just say, like for instance, a building. What are the physics of a building that make it resistant to minor earthquakes and winds on Earth? What are those earthquakes and winds like on Mars, and how what kind of physics has to be different? Maybe you come up, you mathematically model a building on Earth, and then you project it over to the physics of Mars, and then you run a little simulation, and you find like, oh crap, the building is going to collapse. This is not going to work. How do we fortify it more? Or maybe it's just there's different materials available to build it with, and how do you construct how do you construct a workable building with the different constraints that you're facing? Maybe we kind of step you through the process of doing the modeling problem, of coming up with a solution, and simulating how that solution is gonna withstand the conditions on Mars. And maybe there's a shortcoming where you realize like, oh no, it's gonna the building's gonna crumble, and then there's a resolution where you mathematically figure out how to patch the problem. This is just, I'm just trying to give a concrete as possible example about a really cool problem context that can totally generalize into. You can have problems like this in all different areas, like even like I don't, like that's okay, that's a Mars colonization problem. But how about something also like modeling the ecology of a rainforest? I mean, it doesn't have to all be like these tech like rockets on Mars. That kind of area can also be sort of the nature area of okay, there's these subpopulations of animals. What happens, and plants, and what happens if they get a little bit out of balance? Like, oh well, maybe one population is too low, and then so it can't. It's at the top of the food web, and now animals at the bottom of the food web kind of their populations sort of get out of control, and like just understanding how this how the ecological network works all together. We could just go down the list with like hundreds of these cool problem contexts. You can even get like specialists, scientists who actually work with this, do this cool stuff, and get them to design some really cool problem contests. It's just, this can be such a big deal. Not only having these contexts, but actually scaffolding learners up to the point that they're able to do these things. That's one of the problems with a lot of project-based learning and how it's used in practice currently is oftentimes it's not, the problem is not intrinsic to the project itself. There's like a cool project, but the problem is that students' foundational skills have not been developed to the point that they can successfully complete the problem and have a good learning experience from it, and not just feel good, but like actually be doing something that is increasing their skill, not coming away with misconceptions or trying and failing to complete the problem and saying like, well, I guess that was fun, but no, like actually pulling it off. And I think this is also just going to be such a big piece of the puzzle in terms of motivation, and mapping out your kind of your learning journey. There's so many questions that we've gotten that are I think are answered by multi-steps. One question is like, oh, well, what course should I enroll in if I want to do this cool applied thing? Well, the natural answer when you've got like a bunch of really cool multi-steps in place is just, well, look at the multi-steps that are available for each course. Which kind of multi-step projects are you most excited by? Then that's the direction that you should move in. And also there's the question of like, why am I doing any particular topic? Well, previously we've thought about implementing something where it's like, oh, you can kind of look up the knowledge graph a bit and say like, oh, well, linear equations, you need to know that, so you can do quadratic equations, which you need to know so that you can do more math. I mean, it's just not like it's not such a satisfying answer when you're talking about skill building, like just the technical learning more of these martial arts moves. What's really satisfying is when you talk about more like what you're going to be able to do with the martial arts moves that you've learned. It's like, learn this variety of punch so you can learn that variety of punch, and then that'll take you into this combo. And like, but really what is the exciting thing is like, learn this punch so that you can face this kind of opponent and defeat them. And we can do that with multi-steps. Multi-steps are the big applied problem context. That's this. It's more of an authentic use case. You see it more connect to what you're interested in. And if we have these all throughout the curriculum, it can just be a thing like, well, learn to solve linear equations so that you can do this cool Mars colonization multi-step. It puts the carrot closer to you. It's not some far off distant like, learn linear equations so that you can learn quadratic equations so that you can learn blah 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 blah, and eventually you do calculus differential equations and you come out the other side prepared for an engineering job. Like it's just too far. The goal is too far, and people don't. When that goal is too far, it feels less achievable. It's not right in front of you. You don't feel like you can just reach out and grab it. You feel like it's a long journey, and hopefully you end up in the right place. And you don't always understand why you're going where you're going. But if we have these multi-step projects scattered, just peppered all through the curriculum, tons of them, where you're doing a really exciting multi-step every day or every couple of days that you're on the system, or like I think we have it now set at like 100 or 150. I think it's like 100 XP per multi-step, or every time you complete 100 XP on the system, you get served a multi-step in the courses that have enough multi-steps to do that. But we can use these as motivational gravity. It's like learn this math, learn this math topic, learn the linear equations, because you get to apply them, because you get to use them as a tool to solve this other really cool problem, applied problem that you find super interesting. Um, and we can just, anytime you do a topic, we can just tell you what are the multi-steps it's implicated in. Maybe we can even do something where like you know what multi-steps you are most excited about, and then you just like you give us information about like, okay, check these multi-steps in particular. The course has 100 potential really cool projects that you can do, and these 15 are the ones that you are really, you check these and they're the ones that you're most excited about, and we can kind of guide your learning path a little bit, so as to try to get you to those multi steps as quickly as possible. And it'll be like intermediate goals too. It's previously we've thought about goal setting all in terms of XP, in terms of like XP to complete a course. Like, what courses do you need to complete to get to where you want to go? And how long is it going to take you to complete these courses? But that's, again, it's just too far of a goal. Imagine if you had like some view where you see like, oh, these are all the cool projects I want to do. And you see what are the remaining topics until you get to each multi-step project. And you see maybe how many XP away you are from them. Suddenly it becomes, it's not like you're making some multi-month journey and we're celebrating your 10%, 20%, 30% progress milestones. You are like, every few days you're like, oh cool, I can't wait until I get to do this project, that project. Like, and it's very it's like you're still going on this journey, but it's just every couple days of journeying, you get to take a stop by the side of the road and see some really cool attraction, or go to some cool restaurant, or see Niagara Falls. Like, it's the things to break up the kind of monotony of the longer journey, and to make the experience just more satisfying, more enriching. And when you have that sort of situation where in the near term, there's always some really cool thing that you're excited about, it's just so you naturally just put in more effort, and you're trying to race to each particular item. It's like, how fast are you gonna go if some goal of yours is several months away, versus if there is something that excites you that is just 2 days away? Like, of course you're gonna like sprint faster to the 2 day check mark. And then if there's another 2 day check mark after that, you're doing another like cool project. Like, you just stack these over and over and over, and eventually you get to the point where you're not even thinking about the big picture. You don't have to motivate yourself by saying like, oh, I want to come out the other end able to do serious engineering or serious bioinformatics or whatever. Like, you don't have to continually revisit that and realign yourself with the idea of it's gonna be a long period of suck before you get to where you want to go. No, you're just continually focused on like, oh, this is cool, I can't wait for that, can't wait for this, every couple days, and it's just, you're excited the whole time, and we just make sure you are continually moving in that direction, that's going to take you where you want to go long term. But that's not what is your focus. That's our focus. We are making sure that we will take care of the long term. You just get excited about about the short term, about these projects that we've peppered along the way. Anyway, I meant for this to be like a quick, like 3 minute, it's a 3 minute video, but I don't even know when I started. Probably like half an hour by now. But I just wanted to communicate, like, if you are feeling like you're missing some level of excitement about what the skills that you're learning, what they're gonna be making you capable of doing. If you feel like it'd be really cool really motivating to know applications for the topics that you're doing. I just want to say that it is on our roadmap, and we've started kind of pushing the boulder sort of in this direction, but recently it's gotten to the point where it's sort of like a eureka moment. We see that the multi-steps are going to be this solution to that sort of side of the system that a lot of learners are missing. It's the fun, motivational, how do I get to use this in real life? It's that side of the system. And of course, we've always wanted that to be a part of the system, but initially it wasn't totally clear how to go about that. And so we've prioritized the foundational skill building initially, because, well, you kind of have to earn the right to think about these cool problem contexts. If you don't build up foundational skills, then these projects, they don't have the same effect. They're not motivating because you try it and you can't do it. They're not you don't learn anything from it because, again, you try it, you can't do it, you're just being confused, you're just wasting time flailing over easy things that should be easy for you if you build up the right foundational skills along the way. So it kind of feels like we've gotten to the point where we've kind of nailed down the foundational skill building enough. I mean, there's still plenty of stuff that we can improve on that, like adding coaching feedback to the process, measuring, like, if you're blowing through a lesson, struggling because you're not reading worked examples, there's still plenty of things that we can improve on that. But we've gotten to the point where we can actually start thinking about these really exciting, big payoff, wrap it all together, do cool stuff, learning experiences. So that is very much on our roadmap, and not just someday roadmap, but like right now, starting with this machine learning course, building out a bunch of these coding projects, but also creating an introduction to programming course after that. That'll make it possible to put a bunch of really cool math and coding projects all throughout the curriculum, not just in the high level, but also in lower level courses. And so that's going to be one of our key priorities for the near future, is peppering out these multi-steps. I guess going a little meta here, it's like, why am I so excited about this? Because it's such a near-term thing. It's not like we have to build like years of additional infrastructure in order to make this happen. No, it's like we can make it happen right now, starting right now. And it's the same sort of thing like I was talking about earlier, about like when you're doing a course, or a sequence of courses, and you view it over the term of like months or years, you're going to come out the other side with skills that you're able to use. But when you have something, a near-term goal, it's just it pulls you towards that goal. And that's kind of what we're experiencing with the idea of multi-steps being so front and center in the system. So it's kind of pulling us in that direction. Anyway, this has kind of just turned into a rambly brain dump, but you made it to the end of this video. I am surprised, and we will have multi-steps for you in the near future. It's going to be great.